It was a lot different when it came to brushing her teeth and that.
Oh, not really.
No?
We got to brush our teeth. Mm-hmm.
Was it even more different than it is now?
I don't remember going to the dentist until I was 9, maybe 10.
Hmm.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Nobody took the little kids to the dentist. You just got to brush your teeth and take care of them.
Did you have to drive a long ways to get into town? Or?
Yeah.
Because I know you lived in the boonies.
Yes, we did. But even that is kind of a little community of farms and the school district out in the middle of the farm community. So it's a kind of a little community with the church and the school and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, school was actually kind of a community center.
Yeah.
No stores or anything. You had to go into town to get the supplies.
Hmm.
And that we very often did, but in the horse and wagon.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You guys didn't have a car?
We had a car, but if you're going to haul supplies, and it's like monthly supplies, it goes and all the kids in the car.
So what type of stuff did your dad farm? Crop or whatever?
Peanuts was what he called his cash crop. Um, and truck farming for, stuff to can and so forth. I remember having this big old watermelon patch, a couple of them, and he had a devil of time keeping people out of them. What are you going to do? People stop and pick a watermelon and leave.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So did you guys live on? You guys were more on a more traveled road. You weren't more tucked away.
We weren't tucked. It was a pretty traveled road. I don't know, maybe a quarter mile from the house, not quite that far.
Hmm. How long has it been since you've been there?
Back where we lived,
Mm-hmm.
I've never been back.
No.
We tried to find it once and couldn't find it. So I take it doesn't exist anymore.
And when did you guys move out here?
42 or 43, I can't remember.
Why? Because there's more work out here than there was. Because I know Grandpa moved. They moved back and forth. The Hayneses. I remember hearing that.
Yeah, that wasn't our problem so much as World War II started, and all the men were either drafted or trying to get drafted, or Daddy could have been deferred as a farmer. Somebody's got to raise food.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he packed us all up and we moved to Northern California. Lived there a while.
Hmm. And when did
And
you?
he worked at the San Francisco shipyards.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you guys lived in San Francisco, or?
Very briefly. Long enough for him to find a place which amounted to moving us in with his mother. And he and his brother kept the apartment in San Francisco. And the brother's wife, my mother, and all the kids moved to a little town called Healdsburg. Because that's where Grandma lived and where the aunt's father lived. And she moved in with her father and we moved in with Grandma. And the guy stayed in San Francisco and worked during the week.
Mm.
Came home weekends.
And where does your mom come and play all this? Where was she during? Because didn't she live in a hospital most of her life, or?
She was in her mid-30s when she went to the hospital. So no,
No.
she was already a grown woman with 4 kids.
So you guys, when you moved down here, it was until after then. That's when.
Oh, she was with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where did they move her to?
Hillsburg.
Hillsburg.
Yeah. We all lived with Grandma there.
Oh, that's when you moved with your. And I heard there was a bit of tension when it came there.
No kidding. Oh dear.
So that was his mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, I get it. Just didn't get along.
I guess.
So when did you guys leave from there?
I can't remember exactly if I was in 5th or 6th grade when we moved to Santa Paula. I was in 6th grade at Barbara Webster School.
Mm-hmm. And what was Santa Paula? I mean, why'd you move there, of all places? Because there was work there?
No, it had to do with marital problems. In order to stay together, because she wasn't going to do it. Living with her mother-in-law got old.
Yeah.
And her sister lived in Santa Paula
Oh,
at that time.
Uh-huh. And who was the sister?
Her name was Lois.
Lois. Oh, that's where Lois was named after.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was Witten, right?
No, Lois, Lois Isbell was her maiden name.
So we're related to the Isbels?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, by marriage, anyways.
Anyway, that was the deal. If Mom and Daddy were going to stay together, they were moving to Southern California where her sister was, and her brother lived in San Diego.
Yeah. To get away from the
She wasn't staying in Northern California with the in-laws anymore.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah. So that's how you guys got to Santa Paula.
Pretty much.
And that was in 50s or?
No, it was like...
Well, World War II, so.
Yeah. We were down here, I guess, by the end of the war. That may have been another thing. And that was at the end of the war, all those shipyard workers got laid off. Because that's just what happens,
Yeah, the war was over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You don't need ship workers,
And all the GIs coming home looking for jobs.
Uh-huh.
So.
And when did you meet Grandpa?
When we moved to Santa Paula, they lived across the street.
Oh, did they?
Mm-hmm.
And where did you guys live at that time? In Santa Paula?
I can't remember the name of the street.
Did you live there long?
I think it was Giberson Road or something strange like that.
So you lived there until you got married with Grandpa, right? Or?
No, we moved it again a time or two. His family moved, a lot of moving going on.
Yeah.
resettling after a war and everybody trying to find a place to settle down.
Yeah, with all the GIs coming home,
Yeah.
everyone has to make room,
Yeah.
you know.
Setting up temporary housing for them. And
So they had temporary housing for the GIs when they came home?
yeah, for a long time they were like, when the war was on, the military used Quonset huts.
Mm-hmm.
So they just used some of those and turned them into temporary housing.
Hmm.
Not many people probably remembered that.
So where did they set those up at? In Santa Paula or just...
There used to be a bunch of them. Okay. You know what? And they got torn down, and I never knew why they did that. But they were temporary housing, I guess. They just only sit up so long. Even the city hall was a Quonset hut.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for a long time.
The Ventura City Hall?
Santa Paula.
Oh, Santa Paula City Hall? The...
They were over 12th Street. Barbara Webster School's on one side.
Mm-hmm.
And you go down, there's kind of a field there now. Nothing there now, as far as I know. But that was temporary housing then.
Yeah.
They set up a bunch of housing.
Yeah. Huh.
And it stayed there for maybe 10 years.
And then they tore them down.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. Because I know...
No, City Hall wasn't a Quonset hut. It was a barracks. It was an old Army barracks building.
Oh, was it now?
Yeah.
Because I know they had a city hall in Santa Paula that was where the park was. And I know they tore it down and they moved the city operations into the police station, what is now.
Well, they had to build that first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then moved in it and tore the old building down. But it was an Army barracks building, or 2 or 3 pushed together, or however they did that.
Yeah. I didn't know that. That's interesting. I wouldn't think they would have an army barracks in Santa Paula, but you never know.
There's no actual Army base near Santa Paula, but there's the Navy base.
Yeah.
They had a lot of Navy around town.
Maybe that's where the Santa Paula airport came into play, I guess. Because it's not that far from the airport.
I don't know.
This is kind of interesting. Never knew
Actually,
that.
the Air Force had an Air Force base where, where your sister, our Aunt Lisa worked, off the 101 freeway at Camarillo there.
Yeah.
That used to be an Air Force base.
Oh, really?
And the Air Force closed it down, and the county took it over. It's still got a runway, though.
Yeah. So how did you and Grandpa meet?
Well,
Was he was he a sweetheart or was he?
I don't think anybody at that age is a sweetheart. But anyway, when you're teenagers and growing up, you kind of feel in your oats or something.
Yeah.
He was in the Army, and I was out of school and working, and we started dating. Waited till he got out of the Army. Then we moved to Oklahoma.
So you moved from California to Oklahoma back home?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we lived around the Tulsa area for a couple of years. Kenny was born there.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought Kenny was born out here.
No, your mom and Nancy were.
Yeah. So when did you guys move back?
In 54, about mid 54.
Mm.
Your granddad's brother had gotten out of the army and he settled back here in South Hall, so we decided to move back here too.
Yeah. Hmm. So about 54 you moved back, was it? Yeah. Hmm. And then you had Aunt Nancy and then my mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you lived over in the Santa Paula.
We lived, when your mother was born, in this big old gray house that no longer exists out on Telegraph Road. Is that Telegraph? The one where John had his accident?
That's
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know where my brother had his accent.
So we lived out of town a ways.
Hmm.
I can show you where the house was. It's just not there anymore.
Like an old farmhouse type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you moved. And then when did you move into the house over on?
We lived there, and his brother lived in another farmhouse or ranch house or whatever up close to Wells Road,
Mm-hmm.
where his brother lives.
Mm. All that Sattercory area and all that. That was just all farmland at that time, right?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. None of those houses were there.
Yeah.
That little shopping center wasn't there.
Hard to imagine.
I think that used to be an avocado, or was it an avocado grove there, or orange grove, where your brother lives?
Hmm. Then when did you move into the house? That I remember, anyways. Over.
Oh, when your mother was about 15 months old.
Hmm.
She was a year old in November, and we moved in the 1st of February, I think,
Hmm.
after that. So it'd be like November 20th, December, January. She was just barely 15 months old.
And then you worked over at the.
Toddler.
Huh?
A toddler.
Oh, toddler.
So basically she lived there on Wakeford all her life.
And you worked at the government center at the time.
No, where did I work then? I didn't. I went to work for the government center, which wasn't the government center then. The county offices were scattered all over Ventura.
Yeah, and then they built the government center to
Yeah.
unify it.
But she was like 7 years old.
When you worked over there. So where'd you work before all that?
Before all that, I worked for the Navy in Port Winnie, and I quit when Nancy was born.
Mm-hmm. So did you actually enlist, or did you
It's
just?
like we moved back from Oklahoma to California, and I think I got a job first. I went to work for the Navy. I'd worked for them before
Uh-huh.
we got married. And then when we first got married, and then when the war wound down, the Korean War this time, everybody got laid off again. So we moved to Oklahoma.
Yeah. And what did you guys do out there at that
in
time?
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I stayed home mostly. I worked for a car dealer part-time,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like on weekends. Your grandpa worked out of a union hall in Tulsa.
Mm. So did he mostly work as, because he was a contractor or something, right? Or
No?
no?
Uh, before he worked for the Navy?
Yeah. So he was a Navy guy first, right? Yeah. Because I know he worked over at San Nicolas and he was to do stuff for them. But I just never really knew, what he did officially. Was he like I know he built stuff, but I don't know.
No, he was an official civil servant. There are contractors that work for the Navy too.
Oh, okay.
So, but he was actually a government employee.
Okay.
Stop snoring, dog. Before he worked for the Navy, he worked for an oil tool company.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know what that is, do you?
Yeah, they use they make the drill bits and that, right?
Well, they haul out, the driller contractor will order something they need out at the well site and then haul it out there and set it up and
Oh, okay.
take it down and bring it back to their yard. It sounds like they're making tools, but the name of it, but that's what they call themselves, an oil tool company. Big tools.
Yeah. So so he worked for them, and then did he go back to the Navy or
He was actually in the Army
originally?
originally.
Yeah.
Then when he got out of service, he went to work for the Navy. And I was already working for him. But like I said, war wound down, everybody got laid off.
Yeah.
So we moved back east and he joined a union, Iron Workers Union, and worked out of the union hall.
And then you guys came back here,
Yeah,
and then what did he do then?
he worked for the old tool company.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Then he went to work for the Navy.
Okay. And that's when he worked at San Nicolas. At the
Yeah,
later part of his career, right?
and then, yeah, he didn't originally go out there. It's kind of like you apply for jobs as a promotion, and that's where the promotion was, so he took it. And so, yeah, he spent a lot of time out there.
And what was he doing out there?
He was running all their public works operation.
So like roads and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
roads and grounds and carpenter shop, I forget what all.
Because I seen pictures of like a building of it looked like it was a big round dome thing. It's like looked like almost like a telescope or something.
Oh, well, you know what San Nicolas is, don't you?
What?
It's a tracking station. They got all kinds of little domes and things out there.
Tracking station for.
It's a snooping station.
Oh, it's a snooping station?
Mm-hmm.
Like spy stuff or
Well, keeping track of the spies that are spying on us.
the spy on the spy on the spies?
There would be Russian trawlers out there.
Oh, really?
And you'd know they were Russian.
Well, during the Cold War, yeah.
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 But they're sitting out in the ocean watching you, watching them. It's really kind of ridiculous.
Huh. I didn't know that's what San Nicolas was. I thought it was just kind of like a,
Yeah, part of his job was seeing the sites got built and the concrete foundations laid and whatever for launching and testing rockets.
Mm-hmm.
So they use it for that too. I remember watching them. They were testing landing drones like they're using now in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
And they would bring them in for landing, and one of them crashed. And you just think, thank heaven there's nobody in that, because
It did a
good
tumble.
job of it, yeah, and burned.
So at the time he worked at, some pretty high class secret stuff. When it came to the Cold War and all that, right?
I wouldn't say that his job was really. You had to have the clearance to go out there,
Yeah.
but nothing he was doing was classified.
Well, yeah. Well,
But some of the engineers and those people were, and the military too, were out
Yeah.
there. So heaven knows what all they were doing.
And when did you guys retire? Because I think when I was born,
He
you
never
were...
got around to retiring.
No? You never retired?
Never retired.
Oh.
He's one of these people that never took much sick leave, so when he got sick, he just went on sick leave. I think he had like 2 years worth. And so he decided to just stay on sick leave and not retire. His decision.
Mm. So he was basically a contractor through the Navy,
No.
or he just worked directly through
He worked for the Navy brass.
Oh, okay. So all that kind of stuff can kind of get confusing.
Yeah, it does.
Like this
But
person's
they
working.
had contractors out there too.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to keep them straight. At the time he first went out there, San Nicolas didn't have an independent water source, for instance, and they were having to barge in their water.
So he it's probably start help drill a well and get all that set up and
Yeah, well,
get all the transportation set up, and because I always thought it was just a missile testing site
it is.
mostly.
But it's also a tracking station.
Oh, that's funny. I'm sure it's probably not that much used now.
Or are you kidding?
Well, the Russians, I don't think we have to really worry about
No.
anymore.
No, it's all the other jerks we have to worry about now.
Yeah.
I was reading an article today about they busted a bunch of drug people building a submarine
Oh,
in
really?
South America. Ecuador?
Yeah, Ecuador, yeah.
Yeah. And it was an actual working submarine to haul drugs.
How the hell did they get a hold of something like that?
They built it.
Huh.
They got people and parts.
Well, I guess if you have money, you can
Yeah.
do anything. With those drug lords and that, they probably have pretty big cachet of flow of money going in.
Only wasted a few million in building that because they got busted before it got finished. So, but it
Yeah.
would have been a workable submarine.
Interesting.